coronavirus itself is not on its own a game-changing crisis. The problem is it comes on top of the global financial crisis and ahead of the real game-changing crisis for the whole of humanity, which is the climate chaos. The recession we're in, and it is a sharp slump, would have been bad enough anyway. But coming on top of 12 years where we didn't really address the fundamental problems that caused the last recession, I think it's cumulative. And I think the young generation does have a right to demand of political leaders what is the alternative.
Our generation has been promised a lot because the generation before us rode this massive wave of this big financial and housing boom and became very, very rich on the back of it. And there was just this assumption that that would happen for everyone, that you would have constant increases in wages, the economy would carry on growing, you'd be able to get a mortgage, you'd be able to buy a house, and you would be better off than your parents' generation. And that's basically been completely cut off by the crisis.
But this sudden, sharp shock to the economy, well, it has consequences. Now, there's growing evidence those are being felt most by young people. A study in the UK suggests there alone, young people are twice as likely to work in a sector completely closed down. And as we've seen, many of those jobs have simply disappeared.
We've been left stranded. People don't understand that with the wages and the economy at the moment it is, I have saved nothing. I wasn't working enough, I wasn't being paid enough. I haven't even saved enough for the month.
In a way, the young are sacrificing themselves in the interest of the old. Many young people will see, well, plus ça change. And they are quite often the people who are in the so-called gig economy. They're the people whose lives are going to be put on hold, yet they're the people least affected in general by the disease.
We haven't seen a health crisis like this in more than a century, but we have seen a global financial crisis just over a decade ago. Now, there are many arguing the solutions found to that in the form of cuts to public spending, austerity, and the general fallout left young people going into this crisis very vulnerable. And it's renewed debate, this virus has renewed debate about whether the very system we have is broken.
In the UK, millennials are likely to be the first generation since the 19th century to be worse off than their parents. That represents something of a kind of breaking of the social contract that really underpins capitalism. If you can't promise people that their lives will get better, then why should they carry on supporting the system?
The argument shouldn't really be what kind of emergency measures. The emergency measures are clear: shutdown, mass testing, immediate fiscal stimulus, and if necessary, monetary stimulus on top of that. The bigger question is, what is the economic model that we can build that can survive these apparently external crises? They look like an asteroid hitting the Earth, but they're not. They're not really external. They are produced, whether it's climate, whether it's pandemics, they're produced by the kind of model of capitalism that we've adopted, which is being proved decade after decade to be unsustainable.